discuss today transition to visual from a Cat 1 approach, where we're going to see the runway at around 200 feet above, above the ground. The training is going to take place in Charles de Gaulle. We'll explain later why I do that. But yes, transition to visual with poor visibility conditions is really challenging. We can make a couple of mistakes that destabilize the approach, and that's what we're going to look at today. The reason I'm using Charles de Gaulle for most of my training in the simulator is because I have 4 different runways with different lengths and different widths, and also we can look at that in another video. I have a Lebourjet in front of me, which offers a lot of opportunities. Yes, Charles de Gaulle has 2 runways, 2 long runways, 2 short runways, and what I do is I take off from one runway, come back to the opposite runway in the other side of the airport, touch and go, and again go back to the original runway. I can do 2 landings in a very short period of time. The short runways are 60 meters wide, as you can see here, and the long runways are 45 meters wide. Normally the short runways in Charles de Gaulle are used for the arrivals, and the long runways for departures. In this kind of training, what I do in the sim is really interesting, because when the wind comes from the south, in this case 180 degrees 20 knots, I can practice crosswind landings from both sides in a very short period of time. You will see that the wind is coming from this side, so I can practice from both sides the crosswind landings. And I use Lebourjet as well for that reason. You will see in another video. Okay, so in having that in mind, I'm going to review now the ILS, one of the ILSs. We can fly with the 4 of them, and actually the 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 of them. And yeah, we're going to use 2 ILSs today. We are not going to explain how to fly the ILS, but yes, the minima. Okay, I'm not going to use barometric minima to the MDA. I'm not going to put anything in the FMA, and we are going to look only at the right altimeter, because the objective is to see the runway and land. I don't want any distraction with the minima. So yeah, we're going to see the runway at 200 feet, which you can see here. That is the DH. You see 200 feet. We're going to see the runway at that height, and from then we try to land, not making the mistakes that usually we can make it. Now, what are we going to see at 200 feet? We are not going to see the runway, because the RVR is around 550, so we're going to see the runway initially. We're going to see the approach lights, but when we see the approach lights, we can continue the landing. So I'm going to give you 2 images here. The first one, as you can see, we barely see the approach lights, which is okay, and we continue the approach. We're going to see a little bit more of that. You can see it here. Now, what are the mistakes that we can make? The first one is when we are visual with the runway, lift our head to look up, and then, as you can see here, pull the stick at the same time, and we drift above the glide slope. Another mistake is that we're going to do the same thing with the head, look up, but then we push, and then we drift below the glide slope. As a recommendation, once we visual and we look up, yes, release a little bit the side stick, and then keep on the glide slope lane, look for the aiming point. These are the conditions that we're going to fly the first approach with autopilot off. So the whole approach is going to be manual, and transition to visual, the autopilot is already off. Let's see what happens. We're going to see the runway at 200 feet. So let's see what happens. As you can see here, in the FMA we don't have the autopilot, so we are already in manual mode, and we follow the flight director, but at the same time we are flying a raw data ILS, making sure that the information the flight director is providing us is correct. Okay, and yeah. Approaching now 200 feet. As you can see out of the window we don't see anything. Okay, and we're going to start to see the approach lights up at about 200 feet. Now when we look up for the lights, for the visual reference, try not to make the mistakes we discussed already. Okay, so let's see. Also, remember that we have crosswind from the right. So again, with the crosswind, we need to think with the size of the window the runway is gonna show. So here's the runway at 200 feet. So we continue on the glide. You see, correcting for the lateral path, looking for the aiming point, and flaring. Okay. If for any reason we drift above the glide or below and with this stabilized approach, the best course of action is to go around and try again. Okay. Good. Now we're going to look at the same approach to another runway, another ILS, same conditions, but this time the autopilot is on the whole approach. Now that's a little bit more challenging because we are not flying the approach, and we disconnect the autopilot. We have only a few seconds to fill the aircraft, to keep the profile, and to make the small corrections to the path. But we are going to be flying manually for a very, very, very short period of time. In this case, we're doing an ILS to the opposite runway. Now we have a crosswind from the left.
1000. 500.
So here we are reaching 200 feet and still looking. Now we're looking outside again.
300.
When we disconnect the autopilot, it's very important not to pull on the side stick when we look up. Here you see the approach lights, disconnect the autopilot, and we continue manual approach. We are almost on the runway. It's very important to keep on the glide, and then look at the aiming point.
100.
Cross the threshold so you can see.
50, 40, 30, 20.
And then we touch
10,
down close to the aiming point. Very, very, very short manual flying. It's very important not to stabilize the approach and keep the center line and keep also the center of the descent. The third approach is a bonus simulated. Same ILS, but this time is with slats and flaps locked, simulated. As you can see, the configuration on the PFD on the bottom left of the PFD, it's slats 1, flaps 1, and we keep it like that. In this case, we're going to have the same challenges, but our rate of descent is going to increase because our speed also is higher. So we need to think also on the pitch. We need to think on the flare because our rate of descent is higher. We need to think on not to destabilize the approach with this abnormal condition. We're going to use the autopilot as we are in an abnormal, so let's try to help us a little bit. It will make it easier for us until we disconnect the autopilot. But as you can see, the speed is higher than the two previous approaches, with the same weight and same conditions.
300.
And let's see what happens. So you see, we're going to see the runway in a second. There's approach lights, approach autopilot off, and then we continue. Look at the vertical speed is higher as well. Look at the vertical speed, it's higher than before. Don't lose the center of the line, don't lose the profile, don't increase the pitch, and flare on the center line. And then reverses and brake. So that is a short video about this transition to visual. I hope you enjoy, and I see you next time in another video.